Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings forward the social and political issues that are important to people living here in the Pacific Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
Welcome again to this segment of the Oregon Voters Digest. I'm Bruce Broussard, your host. As you know, this is campaign time. You can notice from the tie that I have on today, there it is, buddy. It's whoop, whoop. It's all over the place today. Okay, fine. Well, what are we going to do this hour? I think it's going to be a very interesting one. We're going to do one, we're going to focus on, of all things, an article that appeared in the Skanner newspaper, one of Oregon's black-owned newspapers here in the state of Oregon, but located here in the Portland metropolitan area. But it also gets out to Seattle, I guess. There's a publication up there. But there was an article here on the paper that says, poll results, 71% of the Skanner's readers oppose Jefferson name change. Wow, what does that mean? Well, guess what? I've got a gentleman by the name of Cliff Walker, who's going to basically originated this whole idea aspect of it. But that's a very interesting issue around the country. So we're going to we're going to basically lay it out in terms of what does it mean in Oregon. That's one of the shows we're going to do today. And the other is, as you know, we're going to have a march with the kids talking about the whole issue of assault weapons and weapons and this, that, and the other. As a result of the Florida shooting, all sorts of people are reacting to what in the heck are we going to do about this issue. Well, guess what? We've got a gentleman you've seen before on the show. His name is John Sweeney. John Sweeney. John has talked about got guns and this, that, and the other. We've had several shows. And you can always check him out and talk about those issues and look at those issues from the Oregon Voters Digest archives. Just Google Oregon Voters Digest and go back down there and you see his smiling face. And we're talking about guns. And Jim Leuenberger, too, also spoke about guns. And kind of interesting because we were talking about guns. And he was defending a young woman who was a school teacher. And they were telling her that she had to be dismissed because she had the gun. She was carrying a gun because, for fear, for safety, for the kids and all. So that was interesting, too. And you can Google that show, Jim Leuenberger on Oregon Voters Digest. Okay, that's the second half of our show. Well, but starting us out, as you know, this is election time. And one of the other areas that we've been focusing on, it's kind of a one of a kind, is that Multnomah County, its voters, if you will, constituency within the Portland metropolitan area. Well, actually, it's the largest county in the state of Oregon. There are 4 different, if you will, districts. Naturally, I am the candidate running, besides 3 other candidates, running for district number 2. Which is mostly all of in the Portland metropolitan area, and it says a lot too about that piece. But anyway, we're going to be talking about. But anyway, I'm sorry, gee whiz, I'm just so excited about this campaign stuff. This is awesome stuff. But anyway, the bottom line is that the county, Multnomah County, passed, if you will, I think it was a law. I guess it was a law,
a charter amendment.
A charter amendment. About 89% of the population says, "Hey, we're going to cap campaign finance support, if you will, to $500. $500. The whole idea was to give folks an opportunity to run. I mean, it just anyway. I've been doing sort of an update on that whole issue, and for some strange reason, it's being kind of like folks are opposing that situation. So what I've been doing is sort of giving an update on where are we with this and whether or not it's still law, whether it's not, what the deal is, et cetera, et cetera. So with that, I'm going to this guy here is here. He's been here. His name is Seth Woolley. And he's secretary with the Green Party. Secretary of the Green Party. And Seth is here today. He's going to give us an update. Seth, on you. Give us the dough.
Yeah. So, well, thanks for having me on the show again.
Sure enough.
So the main update is there was a validation action. The county referred it to. You may remember the county referred it to the courts to say.
Right.
To answer the question, is it constitutional or not?
Right.
And a number of interested parties came together, and some said yes it is, others said no it's not. And in this case, it went first to the local courts, and eventually it'll probably go all the way up to the federal Supreme Court. Who knows? But essentially what happened is at the local level, the county judge said that much of it is unconstitutional in the state of Oregon. They didn't evaluate the federal stuff yet. So Now there's the question of, will candidates who are running right now go with the will of the voters and voluntarily comply with the law?
Well, I do.
Yeah.
Okay, I do. Okay. So tell me this. Who's the principal opposer to this issue on the other side? I know that Dan Meek is an attorney, right?
Yeah.
And he's representing, if you will, i.e. the will of the voters.
Yeah, he's supporting it. Yeah.
He's supporting. He's will of the voter. Who's the other side? Who would you identify as one of the main characters on the other side of the deal?
So the main characters are basically what used to be AOI, Association of Oregon Industries. Now it's OBI, Oregon Business and Industry.
Okay.
And the realtors.
And the realtors.
Yeah.
Okay. What again, for the benefit of some of the viewers here, what were some of the main concerns about them in terms of why?
Yeah, they wanted to. Well, it wasn't just a cap on donations.
Okay.
One component of it was to require that you publish on the ad directly who paid for it if the amounts were larger than $500.
Okay. Okay.
And so that was a transparency requirement.
Okay.
And in their filings, they said that they wanted to be able to do unlimited and anonymous fund ads.
Or anonymous.
Yeah.
Not being known. Who,
They didn't want anyone to know
who
exactly who specifically was funding these ads. They
Okay.
wanted to just be able to throw an ad on TV with no indication of who it was. They could make up a fancy name or
like
whatever.
we're doing now. Sort of.
Yeah, I mean, currently there's no requirement for this.
Right.
So this was in 2001. It was repealed by the Democrats in the state legislature. So because we used to have a provision that required taglines, and so that was removed. So
Who did this?
Well, it was Democrats and Republicans, but the Attorney General at the time, Hardy Myers, had given an opinion that it was unconstitutional and should therefore be
And he's a
repealed.
Democrat.
And he's a Democrat.
Okay, all right. I want to make sure we let
so the
people know.
impetus was the Democratic Attorney General at the time.
But the 89% who approved it this time, but both Democrats and Republicans. would say.
Yeah, there was consistently across the board. It basically won every group you can imagine.
Right,
in
right,
majorities.
Right. And their main concerns was, as far as that policy was in terms of that what's being said. What does that say? Just one line. Why did you guys do that? Put that piece together.
The transparency part, or the whole thing.
The whole thing. Why? Real quick,
To end legalized bribery, as it were. Yeah.
Okay, and legalized bribery. Now, the benefits to the candidates running for office. What does that say?
You mean
Are there any
if
benefits?
it's passed? Or,
Are there benefits to the?
yeah, there are benefits for candidates after something like this is imposed.
Okay.
They don't have to spend all their time fundraising.
Okay.
Like right now, they have to raise gobs and gobs of money.
Yeah.
And here, they can just appeal to the general public and say, if you support me, you can give me small donations.
Okay. Okay.
And if everyone realizes there's a cap, people are more likely to open up their pocketbooks and say, yes, I'll support you with $25 or $50. But in this situation, there would be a cap of $500. So people would know that there's some reasonable limit, and somebody like Phil Knight can't come along and throw a $400,000 check in the race and decide it once and for all. So it improves democracy, improves participation, allows people who are candidates to have a broader base of support.
Okay.
This type of thing is often coupled with public funding systems, where like Oregon has a political tax credit of $50, where most people who aren't like very rich
right.
can, because there's a cap of, I can't remember what it is exactly,
right.
but there's a cap of it's like $200,000 or something. If you make more than that, you can't do this. But everyone under that gets to donate $50 to a political campaign, of their choice.
Right now, yeah. You
And
can write
it
it off
comes
on the
right right off on the taxes.
$50. Right.
Yeah, it's not just a deduction; it's a full tax credit.
Right.
So it's basically like public funding.
Right.
And so coupled with something like that, which enables
It makes a lot of sense. Then they can participate.
Yeah, enables everyone.
$5 to $50, and that's where I'm at.
You'd be surprised.
$5 to $50. I'm looking for $5 to $50.
Yeah, if everybody
Write it off.
If everybody donated small dollar amounts,
Right.
that would be more than enough to compensate for people special interests buying legislation through donations to candidates.
Do you give in this particular policy? Do you give any other options beyond $50 for those people who have been, let's say, historically have done better than $5,000, $50,000, $100,000?
Well, there is one type of exception, which is If you create what's called a small donor committee, anybody can create
Small
this.
donor committee, okay.
Yeah, a small donor committee. If you create a committee which basically agrees to only accept donations smaller than of $100 or less,
$100 or less, okay.
then they can aggregate that money.
Put it all together.
Put it all together.
So if you get $5,000 worth of $100,
Yeah, if you get small
max,
donations,
$5 to $100, right?
then you have unlimited donations out of that account. But the input has to be even smaller than 500. It has to be 100.
Oh, 100. Oh, not 500.
It's not just 500. It's 100 in.
100 in.
And then they can
do as much as they want.
So you can donate to little
up to what?
Up to $100.
No, but beyond that, I mean, you got these donations as a there was you got 10. That's $100. I mean, that's $1,000. That's $100 a shot, right?
Yeah, you could have 1,000 people do this.
1,000 people, okay.
At $50 a pop, that's $50,000.
Yeah,
they
okay,
could do a candidate if they wanted to.
Oh, 1,000.
They could spread it to as many other candidates as they want, and this allows like nonprofit organizations or interest groups like environmental organizations to collect small donations and then support particular candidates that way. So it's kind of a proxy donation system.
Okay. So Nike still can be involved. They can go to the employees. Can they go to the employees?
Correct.
And get $100 a piece?
Yeah, they could, in theory, set up a small donor committee.
Right.
Their employees could all donate into that.
Yeah, okay.
And then Nike could redonate it.
Oh, okay.
But a direct donation from a corporation wouldn't be allowed.
Right.
So this would have to be an independently.
Okay.
It would be an independent organization.
Yeah, because some folks were asking me from, it just so happened to be from Nike, but they can put a committee together.
In theory, they could.
In theory, okay, good. But it makes good. The idea is, does it make sense for the voters, for our way of life, if you will? Because it's kind of interesting stuff that I've been seeing out on the campaign trail. You know, people. For instance, one representative race, I guess it happens to be an African American woman, and she was Burger King owner, I guess, of some sort. And I don't know which district it just comes to mind, but she spent $1 million for that campaign. Something like $1 million burning or something. I don't know.
I'm not familiar with all the campaigns.
Dan was kind of like talking about it, and I saw on the trail. I wanted to get her to come on and talk about this $1 million. That's a lot of money. I mean, I couldn't raise $1 million. I mean,
yeah, but usually the people who are raising $1 million are getting very large checks.
Yes.
So they'd be getting $10,000-$20,000 checks.
Jesus Christ.
Usually the entry fee into these is like $1,000.
Right. Okay.
So, if you break down all the political donations by bucket size for all these candidates, you'll see that the large donations above 1,000 basically dwarf all these smaller donations.
Right.
By like 90%.
Yes. Right.
Typically.
Right.
And it's not partisan either.
Right.
So both Democrats and Republicans are showing the same pattern.
Good.
And one thing you may see is you'll see a lot of candidates getting a whole bunch of these bigger donations from across the different districts.
Right.
Then they'll focus their money back into swing districts.
Okay.
They'll redonate their money that they got, pass it through into the swing districts, and that's where you get the $600,000 runs.
I see. Okay.
You get a lot of this pass-through.
The pass-through stuff.
And it just magnifies the money into these tight races.
Right.
Where you're getting large amounts of money going in.
Right. Well, Seth, hey, that's great. I wanted to make sure that the little people understand that, because in all due respect, when you look at the county, I mean, they're about the poor folks, the little people, and they should be a part of this race, because we definitely need leadership. That's one of the reasons why I'm running.
Yeah, the social services aspect of the county.
It's little people. So little people need to know, because they need leadership. In most cases, we're getting the politics out of that situation. We need it now. Plus a $2 billion budget. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And and when you start thinking about the agencies, I'm trying to figure out where does the money go, and you don't really hear, i.e., what has it done for them. Got me in many ways. So anyway, it's an exciting race. But thank you very much. Heck of an update.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
We'll see you the next time around, right?
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Thanks, Seth. Okay, good. Now we'll just switch. Once you guys, this is a community television. I got Cliff. Cliff, come on up. Seth, thanks again, buddy.
Thanks.
All right, now have a good one. Oh, that was good. That was good, Cliff. Now, that means you can participate.
Okay.
You can participate.
Right now?
Oh yes, I'll be more than glad to. I've got a receipt book.
Okay.
Anyway, folks, I've got Cliff Walker here, and like I said, I started off by saying that there's an issue here within our community, within Oregon, our Oregon community, but this thing is all over the country. As far as the statues, everybody familiar with the statues, the whole issue of the statues, i.e., pretty well focusing on some of the recognized participant during the Civil War. So I'm just doing it that way, Civil War. And I've seen the national stuff, but now we've got an opportunity to talk about this on a local thing. And as a result of, in all due respect, Cliff Walker, who I've known in the past, and he's got quite a reputation. I'll let you share a little bit about. Let him share a little bit about who he is. But when I knew him. I met him on the sort of campaign trail when he was putting together a sister city piece. He's a well-known person within the Portland metro area. But when I knew him, it was about the sister city. Where was it? Zimbabwe.
Mutare, Zimbabwe.
Mutare, Zimbabwe. You see, he's still there. He's still there. I don't know where it is today, but that's what he was doing. He and a gentleman by the name of Brown.
It's in my heart.
It's in your heart, but it's not physically located. Well, maybe Mayor Wheeler would understand. He's looking at the show sometime. He may give you a call. You got me? And talk about where is that sister city, because I think it's good. I think it was a good thing to do. It's about Africa and Africans, if you will. And then the other side of the market is that he happens to be, by the way, a disabled vet, and that's another reason why I've known him. Very, very outstanding. And historically, he's also run for office. He's been an Oregonian for quite some time, and his father ran for office.
No,
and what was
my
his father?
did.
It wasn't father. It was just you. It was just you.
Yeah,
just you.
Yeah,
well, no wonder. I mean, but he's been around. He's been around like me.
You're talking about Ollie Smith.
Oh, Ollie
father.
Smith. Yeah, Ollie Smith's father. Yes,
Right.
that's what I'm thinking. He worked for Bud Clark at one point in time. Yeah, good. But anyway, Cliff has been around. He's been. Let's see, been in Portland. You grew up here, or you were born here?
I like to think I was raised here.
Yeah, you were raised here, right? I know that. And you went to Jefferson High School.
I did.
Okay, so I'm just throwing this stuff. I'm not allowing him to speak.
Okay.
But I'm just kind of throwing my little memory piece.
No, it's good history.
It's good history. Good history. And but the bottom line is that on this issue, with reference to the article about Jefferson name change, why don't you share with the viewing audience, one, how and when did you get into this whole issue with the Jefferson High School piece? Okay, when did you get into it, and bring us up to date on that, Cliff, if you don't mind.
Wow, that's a challenge.
Oh, that's no problem, because there's some things I want to comment on, but I want you to get your first piece, because there's some other areas that I want to talk to you about. Okay.
Well, when I was a student at Jefferson High School,
okay,
back in the 60s,
all right,
it was an interesting time in our nation, and again, we're continuing the race talk things.
Okay.
And we learned, or a few of us learned, that our moniker, or the name for which our school was named after a man who had very clear white supremacist attitudes, and his treatment of people of color. He wanted them to be relegated to a slave life. And so I guess I was touched as early as I realized that what is going on. I'm going to a public school in Portland, Oregon, that is a memorial to a white supremacist slave trader. And I have always questioned that. And now I see that the students at Jeff are leading the discussion.
Yeah, right. Interesting, yes.
You know, so it's taken a while, but I'm learning from that poll that the students at Jefferson today would like to see the statue of Thomas Jefferson removed.
Okay.
Some feel it's very creepy and inappropriate. Okay. And I support them.
Okay. Now, but I noticed, though, it says the Alumni Association circulating a petition opposed to the name change. Now, who is the Alumni Association? And by the way, they were invited. Hopefully we'll get them in the future to come on and maybe talk to that issue. Okay, go on.
Well, I don't know who the Alum Association is. I've talked to a few people who identify with being a member
Of the alumni.
a alum.
But you don't know who those.
No, because I've heard them say there are more than one. So I'm trying to learn more about the Jefferson alum.
I will say, I can say that they were African Americans, right? That you would talk to. Let's just say, or did you?
One of them for sure, because I saw them.
Okay. Oh,
But
okay.
I've been on the phone, so I
Okay,
don't know.
Okay. Now, there at one point in time, Jefferson was a segregated school. It wasn't.
No,
It was totally integrated from day one, so to speak.
I can't speak to that because
But when you were there,
when I was there, it was integrated, but there
Okay.
were some traditions that in the school and practices
okay, I
in the
used the wrong
school.
word. It wasn't integrated. Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but people were segregated
Right.
in the schools.
In the schools.
Structure.
Okay. Good. So going on. And-
Well, I'm just, like you say, very excited about the youth leadership on the guns issues and removing statues that are offensive. And as a member of the Humboldt Neighborhood Association,
Okay.
we've been reaching out, trying to connect with the school. And this issue has brought the students and members of the Humboldt Neighborhood Association together. And we have found that the students at Jeff not only want to remove a statue of a white supremacist at the front door, but they want to get rid of the rats. They want to look at the asbestos problems, and they also want to clean drinking water return.
Right. Which is a major issue.
You know,
in
so
important public
we
schools.
join their efforts,
Oh,
and we
great,
hope everybody
great.
will support the
yes.
students.
Oh, very much so. In fact, kind of interesting you brought that up because I challenged the same situation during that particular time when there were discussions among the school district and their parents, if you will. And in many cases, got somebody out there that want to, you just said, okay, good. But anyway, I too went to some of those gatherings from the from as far as the lead in the water aspect of it, and eventually, yes, they did found in fact that there was lead in the water, and then all due respect, the superintendent of the school was that goes, yes, and at that point in time, Mrs. Smith, and but now supposedly there's supposed to be clean water in the school, but guess what? I've got a granddaughter that's going to Portsmouth grade school, and the fact of the matter is, they still have the fountains covered, and the kids are having to drink water out of the bottle, but they're having to get these little, remember the little paper cups you used to have? You used to play around with, you just pull them down and you take one or whatever.
Well, I little conical.
Yes, that kind of a deal.
No.
And as far as I'm concerned, it's still unsanitary. The kids can't really do anything, so they haven't done anything. But yet, and still, a big bond measure was just passed, and that's another issue. But they're refurbishing and building new schools, but it's east, going east as opposed to west.
Let's hope
Like
that
St. John. It's really a sad note.
Let's hope the city council members and the county commissioners will join in getting clean water to the kids in the Humboldt neighborhood.
Well, I'm running for office, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm an elected official.
I know you'll have clean water.
I want clean water now. Not until after May. I want it now. And there are 3 other commissioners, people who are running for office, and the sitting commissioner is actually running for city council, Ms. Loretta Smith. So really, she won't have any time to be talking about issues in the county.
Well, clean water is an issue.
Clean water is a major issue,
Yes,
and I'm definitely for that. And I'm hopefully I can get the other candidates to come on here. The Oregon Voters Digest is open for all the candidates, especially in this area, to talk to those kinds of issues. But let's go back to the Jefferson issue aspect of it. I noticed that President Jefferson was right after that was the American Revolution. He was second or third president?
I think he was the third president.
Now that's the American Revolution, fighting the mother country.
Independence from Britain.
Okay, good. But then on the other hand, when you start thinking about the really impact on the issue of African Americans was during the Lincoln administration. He was the 16th president of these United States. And whenever I talk about Lincoln, I always refer people to a movie that's still out there. You can Google it all over the place. It's called Glory. Glory. And when you think about glory, you think about military. You think about, wow, Buffalo soldiers. You think about the Union soldiers during that particular time. You think about the Civil War during that time. and how Lincoln, if you will, his platform when he ran for office and won, was that he was going to eliminate slavery. You think about the Emancipation Proclamation and all these kind, but it's not taught in books. So I'm just thinking about here you're talking about Jefferson, third president, and then 60 years afterwards, here comes Lincoln, young whippersnapper, a lawyer, if you will, and said, "Hey, I'm going to run for office." And he goes knocking on doors, and people said, "You're not going to win. We're just a slavery. We're in the slavery. We don't get caught up in the slaves." These are excuse the French. These are jobs that Americans don't want to do.
Oh,
have you heard that before?
Sounds familiar.
Have you heard? Remember that? You familiar with that? That we have today.
It was more that these are jobs that Americans aren't going to do.
Aren't going to do, like today. Now, but now they're different colors. They said Mexicans now basically.
It's capitalism.
Oh, is that what it is? It's about the money.
It's
about the
money.
money. It's about the money. But we've got a good example, if you will, but it doesn't lead to anything from the standpoint of assimilation, if you will, among our people as a whole. Got my point? We still got this. Now we got new words like racism and all this other good stuff. Well, on the other hand, if we just sort of accept the fact that we're all Americans, then that's a whole different ballgame. It might be about the money then, but we're all together. Got me? Working for this own cause. Okay, but I just thought I'd mention that. And so if you really want to get a better feel, and I'm throwing this out to you, because we're going to do some more of this with Mr. Walker, look at that movie, Glory. It's with Denzel Washington and Morgan Freeman, I think it is. Boy, I tell you, that is I had to look at it about 6 or 7 times, and I'm reminded so much that I look at it just to make myself feel good about at that point in time, because I'm a military kind of a guy, former Marine. I spent my time in the Marine Corps and spent my time in Oregon National Guard, and I feel very comfortable because a contract was signed up there. It said 40 acres and a mule, and that 40 acres and a mule really represents all for anybody that participated across the board. And Lincoln said everybody's going to be the same, so to speak. So African Americans who were slaves now all of a sudden became Americans because they signed that contract like all the other troops.
Well,
Well,
my history, and I'm still learning history.
Okay, good.
But Lincoln was responsible for allowing black men
yes,
to have rifles.
yes. Oh.
In exchange for their allegiance to the military.
But everybody else too, whites too, yeah.
But no,
yeah.
the Union was the Union.
Yes, the Union, right, the Union piece.
And they included Africans into the Union military services.
Right.
And they paid a price, a heavy price,
Right.
to be so honored.
Yes.
But we thank them.
Yeah.
And they need to be remembered.
Yes, oh, very much so. But you know, the other thing too, I might say that there was a Confederacy. We had a Confederacy flag that a lot of times people tend to oppose today. But the country could have been a Confederacy. If anything, headed one the other way around.
Either side won.
Either side won. But you know, the uniforms were being sold
To both sides.
African Africans, slaves, were also wearing the Confederacy
Oh, yeah.
uniform.
Yes.
You got me? But Lincoln was sharper. He basically picked them up in numbers before the other side did. And as a result, that tipped it the whole deal.
He put more guns on the field quicker than the
you said
Confederacy.
more what now?
More guns.
Oh, guns. Oh, okay. I thought it was just kind of a wrestle match or something.
it
of that
was
nature.
guns.
You know, and during that particular time, when they first started this war, it was a civil war. It was a war among the states. You know, right after the American Revolution, everybody kind of got together. Everybody was working. And then all of a sudden, the cotton gin and the mechanical part was in the South, i.e. slave labor. Right? You got me? And on the other side, it wasn't, but not as much as. And then all of a sudden, it said, hey, look here, we got all these machines. We got the cotton gin now, mechanical cotton gin. And somebody in the North said, well, because, again, money, I'm selling these machines over here. We don't need slave labor anymore. What we're going to do, well, what do you mean? No, I like what I got already. I got the money, right? Okay, I don't want your machines. I got my machines. I got my slaves picking up this cotton. I'm just giving it in sort of a crude way, but do watch that. That's really it. There's a lot of books that have been written
Labor's important too.
Oh, labor is definitely important. See,
Labor's
I mean, even the unions for that matter. A lot of folks don't realize that the trades were developed by the slave laborers because they did the work. I mean,
The stevedores,
all that stuff,
and the Teamsters.
the Teamsters,
yeah. Farm workers.
Heck of a lot of history. A lot of history. And even to this day, to a certain degree, Mexican Americans are basically doing the same things because we still make the point about, well, they're doing stuff that Americans don't want to work with. And I'm kind of like one of the ones that, from an African American standpoint, an American, say, wait a minute, it just took my job. I mean, I like I've been in these
God
service
bless your
jobs.
soul,
I've
brother.
been
You
in
can
service
have that
jobs.
job.
I know, but now I may be wearing my tie, but I'm still trying to make my bills together. We're all trying to work it together.
Honest dollars and honest.
That's right. But anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out because I think we can we've got a rich history in this country. And I think we need to recognize that. I think that would solve a lot of the so-called riffing, this whole issue of institutional racism and even using the word racism. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't help a situation out at all. And because of now it's gotten so sophisticated, all you have to do now is not just picking up a gun. You can just push a button and rocket starts going off. And you don't know where they're going to land sometimes. You know, you got folks down there. Let's see, Korea or something. I think I heard that. Have you heard that? South Korea. Or was that North Korea? Now, it looked like the South Koreans are getting together with the North Koreans. Oh, but the president's not getting ready to meet with them. I don't want to get caught up.
Not all of us understand the Korean puzzle.
Our president does.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's working on it. He said, hey, we're going to shake some hands. And I predict to this day, I will say that if he's able to get together with these North Koreans, the North Korean president, he's going to win the Pulitzer Prize. He's going to win that Pulitzer Prize. They're going to give him that Pulitzer Prize because people are going to say, wow, we don't have to worry about any rockets coming over here, and over there. You know what I mean? That's in a crude way. But anyway, it's just something I just threw on the table.
Well, there was a Portland boy or a friend named James Nelson, and I ran with him, and he had served in Korea.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. What did he say?
Well,
what do you feel about that piece?
You know, I didn't really talk to him. He was a musician.
Okay.
And I think he was maybe a drum major.
Yeah, okay.
He brought the music and brought it into the neighborhood.
Yes.
We respected him because he was so sharp.
Yes.
So sharp.
Awesome.
So talented.
Really?
You know.
Oh, wow.
But he brought the stories about going to Korea.
Yes.
And being stationed in Korea.
Oh,
and
yes.
I guess it was a little bit after the war.
Yeah, right.
I guess we still
we're still there.
You know,
I know some guys that went over there.
So Oregon has made its contribution.
Oh, very much so. Very much so.
Oregon
and we
has
still
made
are.
its contribution.
But this has been just great. Now, what we're going to do now is that maybe to go beyond this point, I'd like to see that, Cliff, if we can get this alumni folks, 'cause you're going to be following up on this stuff, can you maybe continue to maybe see if we can get the Alumni Association to come on the show, and then we give them an opportunity to give their rationale, if you will, as far as the name
Well, this
change.
is an issue that has split the community a little bit.
Okay,
You have I don't know how many alum associations.
Right.
And you have students.
Right.
And you have community members, and there's strong feelings.
Oh, really?
But through expressing these strong feelings, we're learning our history.
Right.
A lot of people didn't know that Thomas Jefferson was a white supremacist.
That's right.
Or have never read his writings. But now they can learn firsthand by just picking up the book and seeing what the third president.
Google it. Now you can Google it. Yeah. Where's it? Where's that Google? I've got my whole directory here. You know, here it is right here. Boy, I got my whole library.
Wow, man.
I'm carrying my own library right here.
That's technology.
Boy, I tell you, isn't that something? It's well worth it. But anyway, my point is that we're going to go on and follow through with this and then someone would say, well, Bruce, why would you want to bring this up and running for county commissioner? Well, in all due respect, that's part of the job. You know, a county commissioner actually deals, with poor people.
It's a national issue.
Yes.
And it stretches into the cities.
Yes.
It stretches into the counties.
Yes.
This issue that the people in Multnomah County are addressing is not unsimilar to the issues that many counties.
Right. Very much so.
It's in the news everywhere.
Exactly.
People are removing those vestiges of racism.
Exactly.
Everywhere.
And hopefully I can give my constituency, the other 3 individuals that are running for office, the opportunity to come here on the show and hopefully contribute to this concept. If not, at least I've shared it with them, and they can go out and pick up a little background.
Well,
and
yeah,
please pick up that Google and Google
And
the movie Glory.
and support the students at Jefferson.
There you go.
Man.
Support the students. And so when they get to that point where they're like Cliff, we won't be talking about this issue. We'll be talking about something else, right, Cliff? Is that right?
I hope there's progress.
All right, I
hope
like
there's
that, Cliff.
progress.
Well, Cliff, this has been great. I want to thank you very much. We're going to go on and take a short break, and we're going to talk about guns.
Thank you.
In fact, if you'd like to talk, be a part of the conversation.
Thank you.
You want to sit down with us?
May I listen?
You can listen. No
Okay,
problem.
thank
Okay,
you.
we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
You are watching Oregon Voters Digest. This program can be seen again on these channels on these dates and times. Tell a friend.
Welcome back, folks. As you can see, we're right in the campaign, and again, it's relative to my run, if you will, and three other bodies running for county commissioners. Very, very important piece, and so I want to make sure that we recognize that, and you in the county know that this next group, if you will, this group that's running for office, actually sensing and dealing with those issues, which we need to do. Very viable one. Well, this particular part, we're going to talk about guns, and is that as if to say the Florida incident, the Florida mass shooting within the schools is now in Oregon, and now we want to try to talk to it from the standpoint of how do we prevent from anything like that horrific from happening here in the state of Oregon. And and the way we're going to start doing this, and we're going to definitely spend some time on this issue, again, a major issue among the county folks here in this issue. And it should be part of the campaign. So the key is that we're looking for results and how would people respond to it. I've been doing this show for a number of years, and this whole format is to educate and inform. And so I figured it was a perfect time to do this. And as a result of my happening to run, I want to make sure that it is an issue that all the candidates need to bring to the table and talk to what they feel about it as far as the solutions to this. So I've got as my guest today is a gentleman by the name of John Sweeney. John has been on this show for a number of times, and we've talked about a number of issues. But he's also run for office in his case many times around, and been very, very much involved with the folks. As far as I'm concerned, he's always won by when he filed to run for office. John run, because trust me, he does his research and he gets out there. He didn't have all of the big money, if you will, and a lot of times it's a thankless job when you're running for office anyway to begin with. And sometimes when you're trying to voice your opinions and this, that, and the other, people tend, unless you got the money in the front of you and you can put those flyers out there, maybe $200,000 or $300,000 in the bank, then you get your point across. But the real person is sitting right here in the front of you. John, welcome to the show, buddy.
Oh, thank you for inviting me again. Always a pleasure to be here.
Always a pleasure, John, having you on. But this time, John, we want to talk about guns. We want to talk about, because like I said, we want to bring this issue, the Florida issue, so we won't be doing this here in the Pacific Northwest, doing something as horrific as that mass shooting. And now here are some of the areas that's happening right now that we're going to be getting involved. I noticed that on the students are going to be marching on this Saturday, the 17th. And they're involved in the gun issue, and some people are questioning as to whether or not why haven't the adults solved this problem, as opposed to giving them the opportunity to maintain themselves and get that education that they most needed in this society that we have. It's so important. But anyway, they are very, very much involved on Steve Nunn's show. Right? Steve Steve Dunn's show. Your vote, my vote, that routine today on Sundays. He does this on Sundays. He had 3 kids on, and they were basically responding to the why and the rationale for them getting into the whole issue of solutions. Okay, and then they had their views, and so that's another area we can talk about that. Another one was it was the other one was the ministers are talking. They had a big well, I think it was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday they had a press conference at one of the local churches, and ministers were there, and they were talking about assault weapons and things of that nature, comparable to the kids and magazine and like. And there's some politicians were there too, and everybody's trying to figure out, well, this is what we want to do. We just want to get rid of these guns. We want to get rid of these assault weapons aspect of it. We want to make sure that the kids age from 21 years old and this, that, and the other. So they had their issues, and then we had that was a march on deal. And then gun owners themselves. Now, in many ways, gun owners have just been somewhat quiet about it. I noticed that there was a spokesperson for the NRA, which I felt, as far as I'm concerned, is the leading component, if you will, of defining related to the gun issue aspect of it. That we, as a whole, we tend to identify they're the ones. There are many organizations, but the NRA tend to stick out more. Okay, and so I feel that they too are at the table in another way. But I think we need to have a discussion, and as far as I'm concerned, I'd like to see the NRA sort of lead that discussion in many ways. And I'm sure that they're keeping note of those all the participants running around, not only here in the Pacific Northwest, but all over the country right now. But here in the Oregon Voters Digest, right here in Portland, Oregon, i.e. with a candidate running for Multnomah County District Number 2, I feel that is a major issue here that should be discussed here in District Number 2, and that's Bruce Broussard. As I'm running for office, so that's what I'm going to do. And then, so doing that is that I brought John on because we've talked about weapons at length, if you will, on the Oregon Voters Digest show aspect of it. And so Don's going to give you an opportunity to, one, how did he get interested in guns? We'll talk a little bit about that and talk about what are some of the activities he do about guns. And then we're going to talk about that aspect of it. And then we're going to talk about where we're going to go from here. Because we are going to have a series of this. Go on, John. Introduce yourself.
Well, I'm John Sweeney, and I'm a native Oregonian and spent most of my life here. The Army took me away for different reasons. And well, after World War II, my dad got out of the Army, and for the first time I shot a gun was happened to have been a .38 Snubby revolver, and I was 6 years old, and I've had access to firearms and ammunition since I was 6 years old, and as a civilian I've killed no one, shot lots of ammunition. I joined the Army National Guard when I was 16, and 18 the Army Reserve, and got out at 24 and went back in at 25, and at 31 and become an officer in Ordnance Corps, and I retired as a captain at 45. And I always liked shooting firearms of different kinds, and I have friends who belong to the Oregon Automatic Weapons Association, so I get to go down and shoot the real fun guns and all that, and of course then running for office. And running for office, if any of you want to try it, it's quite an experience. You have your core issues, and then you say, well, you got to kind of expand it a little bit, and then once you get out there, the public and the press will expand it even more. You will talk about things that you never thought of, but you'll get educated real quick, and you'll find out what's going on. Now, a lot of the trouble with what's going on now with these young people is a lot of them are discouraged. They're disheartened. They just feel that there's no future for them. And it's the important thing, if you see something, say something. And in a lot of these cases, the authorities have had foreknotice. The fact that they knew something was wrong, and they've been sweeping.
You're talking about the Florida incident right now.
The Florida incident, several other incidents,
right,
Kinkle and the whole thing. And what they needed to do is talk to these young people, and say, what would you like to do with your life? I was lucky when I was 11, I got a magazine that had 2 jet fighters, and I want to be an Air Force fighter pilot. and read all the qualifications. One, you had to finish high school, and two, you had to be 5'8", and I was 5'2". I was worried I'd stunt my growth, so I never took up smoking and ended up 6'2.5", you know. But I had a goal, and then later on in life I changed to different things. And a lot of these people, they have no goal, or they feel that that they're unwanted. They feel that there's lost. A lot of it is these young fellows, they have no father in their life, you know, and this is where the big brother thing is real important.
Okay, but check this out. Not that I'm trying to cut you, but what about guns? When were you introduced to guns?
1946, when I was 6 years old.
You were 6 years old.
6 years.
Okay, so your parents allowed you to shoot guns. Did he buy you a weapon, all that kind of good stuff?
Well, my dad had this 38, and that he had traded a 25 for, 25 automatic that he took off a Japanese sergeant.
Okay.
After we dispatched
military.
him.
So okay.
And so we went out in the sand dunes of Oregon down on the coast and was shooting it, and then just got interested in it because it was fun, and I enjoyed it. And
when did you purchase your first gun?
1958. And
how old were you then?
I was 18 years old.
18 years old.
And the law at the time was you could buy.
You were still living at home?
Yes.
You were still living at home?
Yeah.
So Dad participated. Well,
no, the deal.
How did it go?
The law at the time is you could buy a long gun, rifle, or shotgun at 16.
Right. Okay.
You can buy a handgun at 18. And I was 18 years old, and I went down to a gun store and filled out the paperwork and put the money out. And then I come back 3 days later.
What'd you do with that gun during that time?
Well, I shot that German Luger a lot, and a lot of people were fascinated.
Were you hunting with it?
Oh, no.
Okay, so what were you doing with it?
I just had to shoot with, and then for a while as a security guard, and I carried it as my sidearm as a security guard.
Okay.
And a lot of people were fascinated with it, and they hadn't seen one, so I'd let them shoot it, you know, and probably put, over 40 years, probably put about 4,000 or 5,000 rounds through it.
Okay.
And in fact, one fella, he had a wall covered with German Lugers. He'd clean them and all that, but he's afraid to shoot them. But he was willing to shoot.
What was your first gun show? Let's say, you know, out of high school.
No, the first gun
school?
show I went to actually I was probably about 30 years old. Say.
30 years old.
Yeah.
First gun show. What did you do? What did you buy?
Actually, I just went in there and drooled a lot.
Just drooled a lot. Okay, you're looking at all this stuff. Bazookas, they had all kinds of stuff during that day.
Well, in order to have a Class 3 firearm or destructive device.
Class 3, they were handing those out. You could buy a bazooka with that. Is that what you're saying?
You have to go through a background check through the BATFE.
Okay.
And there's a $200 transfer tax.
Okay.
There's a background check.
Okay.
And the local law enforcement officer, in this case, would be the chief of police or the sheriff would have to sign off on it also.
Okay.
And I have, like I said, a lot of friends that belong to the Oregon Automatic Weapons Association.
So you guys, what do you guys do? You guys go down there basically
and they have a match.
Socialize and stuff
socialize
like that.
and shoot.
Compare guns, you know what I mean? Routine.
Oh, yeah, you got to shoot a lot of guns that I normally wouldn't get to
guns
shoot.
with one another type routine sometimes.
Well, before...
Can you do that?
Before the January of 2015, you could sell to another person that you knew. In other words, you could not knowingly sell to or otherwise provide a firearm to a prohibited person.
Right.
And so there was a lot of transfers, and then I'd bought firearms from friends that I knew, and I sold the friends that I knew and traded. And as far as I know, none of them have ever been used in a crime. And that German Luger, I did sell it to a friend who always wanted one, and so I sold it to him and showed him how it worked.
Now, let's fast forward to because you're going to be seeing John more on here because we're going to do some other things. We're going to bring the NRA here at the table here, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do that real quick. But the bottom line, now what about the concealed weapons permit thing? What is it? What do you call it?
That's a concealed handgun license.
Concealed handgun license. Okay.
And I lobbied the Oregon State Legislature when I was the president of the Oregon State Shooting Association, and in 1987 and
Okay.
89 and 91.
Okay.
And in 1989, they changed the law, and Oregon went from a may issue state to a shall issue state.
Mm-hmm.
And the may issue state depended on the sheriff. And Multnomah County had only about 15 of them out.
Okay.
And that was because you had to be somebody special
Okay.
to get one. See?
Okay.
And anyway, they changed it. And
When you say special, like elected official or a mayor,
their friend, like Dick Bogle, had
Dick
one,
Bogle, Dick
and
Bogle.
a few others.
He was a city council person, Portland City Council, African American, right? You got me? I think Ron Herndon had one too.
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
yes.
Ron Herndon of the Black United Front at that point in time. It was somewhat controversial in terms of who he was, and so consequently he needed protection, and he issued him one, right?
Right, and the deal is, and I don't think he's ever shot anybody.
Yeah, right.
And
But it was protection.
right.
So why
and,
did you
and
get
we
yours?
we
Why did
know
you
a
get
few
yours?
other people that own them,
Right.
and so that and not everybody with a concealed
So
handgun
anyway,
license
you went through
is
that
white, but
process, and
went
now
through the
everybody can get
process.
it, right? You got one.
Right.
Okay.
And they changed.
Why did you have one? Why did you get one?
Well, the deal is they changed. Well, when this was a may issue state.
Okay, we got about 5 minutes. That's why I'm
Okay.
rushing.
Okay.
You'll be seeing John more often.
Okay.
But I'm
May
trying to get
issue
to the point.
state, you didn't have, you could get them in other counties.
Right.
The going joke was
Right.
Harney County had more concealed handgun licenses out than they had people.
Okay.
You know,
Wow.
and some people would go to Columbia County, but then
Wow.
they changed it, the rule that you had to get one in the county you lived in. So-
Wow.
And actually, nationally, a third of the concealed handgun licenses belong to women,
Okay.
and in Oregon at one time was about a third.
Okay.
And so, and a big new market for the concealed handgun license is actually the gay community.
Right. The gay
And-
community. Oh, gay community's got them now.
Oh yeah, really?
Everybody's got hand. Everybody's
Hey,
drinking.
for lawful
How many?
purposes.
Give me some stats. How many guns are out there right now for handgun as far as concealed weapons? What
The concealed handgun license in Oregon is about 200,000,
200,000.
and nationally it's over 16 million people.
16 million people.
16 million people.
Okay. That sounds good. And the lobbying group, I would say the lobbying group would be the NRA, right?
Right, and they're trying to
And
go
they
for
run
a
by-
national reciprocity.
Okay. And what's that membership run? About 1 million, 2 million?
Oh no, they've crossed 5 million, and
5
and
million.
they've since this Florida incident,
Right.
they've actually had another spike in membership,
Right.
and people are realizing that they have to have somebody to speak for them.
Right.
And you know, we both belong, and the deal is we don't agree with everything, but the
Right.
deal is we got to have somebody
Right.
that has their
Well,
ear.
briefly, since you threw that out, I was going to spend a little bit more time on that piece, but my background in regards to guns is that actually I was born on the farm, and my dad hunt, basically to feed the family, if you will. But then we move up real quick, and we moved to Texas and went to school there, and the ROTC was the Reserve Officer Training Corps. So in high school, all of a sudden I got an ROTC, and so we were issued 22s, and we shot during that time marksmanship and this, that, and the other. And then I got out and I got in the Marine Corps, and a Marine, they've got to be card carrying weapons type routine. So after the Marine Corps, I just automatically, with all of my buddies, we all basically got membership in the NRA, National Rifle Association. And then after a while, I've never bought any guns for that matter, but I've been around them for a long time. And so afterwards, I just kind of said, well, I just let my membership lax because I wasn't going to the gun shows, this, that, and that for now. But now all of a sudden, we went through that whole process of trying to talk about the guns and invited the NRA to talk about this issue. And I really think this is an issue that they should be at the table like you, sharing basically the history of guns and educate and inform. And so to make sure that we do discuss about the NRA within our midst during these next maybe 3 shows we're going to do, I resubscribed my membership. I got it back out of the mothball, and I'm now a member of the NRA. And so consequently, we are going to talk to the NRA.
Correct.
So as whether they're here, the lobbyists here, or just you and I, we're going to talk about the NRA and how we feel about the solution about basically getting us feeling that public safety is an issue, and that that's an issue that we have in our city, in our state, in our country for that matter. People don't feel too safe. And so we can talk about that. But I want to make sure, since you brought the issue up about that, I'm a new member of the NRA. It's been for the last 2 months now. But I'm a member of the NRA. I renewed my membership card because that was an automatic thing that one had to do when you get out the Corps. Got me?
Yeah. One interesting.
Real quick, we got about another minute. Okay, go on.
Another interesting thing. Yesterday I was at the.
And we're going to be discussing this again, folks. This is just the first meeting that we're going to be doing on this, but I'm going to give it about another 2 or 3 shows, especially now since they're talking about this stuff. We're going to get some kids on. We're going to get the reverends on. I mean, we're going to get all folks again. But we're going to be spearheading the NRA interest until we find someone, a lobbyist locally, to represent that entity. Is that fair?
That's good.
In fact, you might be running that show that day. Okay? Good. Okay, good.
But anyway, I was at the Democratic Party's having their
real quick
convention on their platforms, and
that's just yesterday, right?
That was yesterday and
Saturday.
Today, and I didn't go today. And
Okay,
anyway, he talked about the banning the guns, but then he also talked about bringing up about the mental health industry.
Okay, good.
You know, and mental health and all that. But they're saying, but it costs so much money. You know, they talk about wanting to do something, but you mention the money, and they go away from that, and then they want to get back to taking away the firearms. See?
Okay.
And the thing is, they keep bringing up the same stuff. Well, you got to do something to help these young people.
Well, this is what we're going to do. The mental health, you're right. The mental health is an issue. I'm running for county. Mental health is a major issue in that arena. And then you're right. I'm going to address that issue. That's going to be part of that. Well, we only got about 10 more seconds, if you will. And John, thank you very, very much. Now you know we got to do a series of this thing. Contact the Democratic Party chairperson, and we're going to get them involved in our committee. Is that fair?
Okay.
Okay, John. Sounds great. Good job. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And here we go again. Next week, hey, we're going to have another Dynamo show. I don't know what's going to be on. We're going to definitely talk about guns. We're going to talk about the kids. We're going to talk about the ministry. We're going to get all kinds of folks involved. In fact, Cliff's going to be back on. We're going to make sure we get this other folks on something if we get them on. As you know, we're here to serve, folks. Have a good one. I'll see you next week. Hey, folks. I'm Bruce Broussard. And as you might know, I'm running to be your next county commissioner. But I will continue to host our Oregon Voters Digest and will likely share my views on important issues here. And since this is going to be a very important election year for everyone, I'm opening this platform for other political candidates to share their views too. So, if whether you're also running for Multnomah County Commissioner or if you are going to be on the ballot in any other position in our viewing area, you are welcome to come on this show and tell us what you are all about. This is an open invitation to anyone running for any office in the Portland area. We broadcast our show live every Sunday afternoon here in Northeast Portland and would love to share the stage with you. If you're interested, send us an email at ovdguests@gmail.com. The email should be displayed on your screen now. So, come on down. Write me an email and tell me who you are, what position you're running for, and maybe a little about yourself. Again, our email is ovdguests@gmail.com. Even if you're not running for office, be sure to stay tuned over the next several months. You're going to want to know how your candidates stand on the issues and how they plan to represent you. Have a great week, folks. Everybody, I love you. Take care.